Picture this, a colossus of a man, a global icon who's wrestled giants and outrun explosions on screen, stops dead in his tracks on a chaotic city street. Why? A girl, small and fragile, collapses without warning, and Dwayne Johnson, the Rock himself, becomes her lifeline. In a world that keeps spinning, he's the one who makes it pause. The Los Angeles sun beat down mercilessly on a late summer afternoon, the kind of heat that made the asphalt shimmer and the air feel like a sauna. Dwayne Johnson, all 6 feet 5 inches and 260 pounds of him, moved through the crowded sidewalk on Wilshire Boulevard with the ease of someone used to parting seas of people. His black tank top clung to his frame, sunglasses shielding his eyes from the glare and the occasional flash of a fan's phone camera. He was on his way to a meeting, something about a new action flick, the details already blurring in his mind. His schedule was relentless, a treadmill of film sets, gym sessions, and brand deals, but he thrived in the grind. Today, though, the universe had other plans. The street was alive with the usual city symphony, honking cabs, chattering tourists, and the rhythmic thump of a street performer's drum. Dwayne's earbuds pumped low bass, his steps in sync, when a sound sliced through the noise, a sharp, desperate scream. It wasn't the kind of scream you ignore, not the playful yelp of a kid chasing a friend or the exaggerated cry of someone vying for attention. This was raw, panicked, the kind that makes your gut twist. He pulled out his earbuds, scanning the crowd, his height giving him a vantage point over the sea of heads. 20 feet ahead, a small figure crumpled to the ground. A girl, maybe 11 or 12, hit the pavement like a marionette with its strings cut. Her backpack slipped off her shoulder, spilling its contents, a handful of pencils, a dog-eared notebook, and a crumpled granola bar wrapper skittered across the concrete. The crowd around her didn't react at first, their momentum carrying them forward, some stepping around her like she was just another obstacle. A few paused, their faces flickering with concern, but no one moved to help. It was the city's unspoken rule: keep moving, don't get involved. Dwayne didn't hesitate. His long strides ate up the distance, his presence shifting the energy of the crowd like a stone dropped in water. People parted instinctively, some recognizing him, others simply reacting to the sheer force of his movement. "Move back," he called, his voice deep and authoritative, the kind that could silence a stadium. The crowd complied, forming a loose semicircle around the girl, their phones now out, recording the scene. He ignored them. Fame had taught him to tune out the lenses, to focus on what mattered. He dropped to one knee beside her, his massive frame casting a shadow over her small form. She was pale, her skin clammy under the harsh sunlight, her dark hair sticking to her forehead. Her chest rose and fell shallowly, but her eyes were closed, her lips slightly parted. Dwayne's mind raced, drawing on years of training, not just the physical kind from his wrestling days, but the practical know-how he'd picked up on film sets and from first aid courses he'd taken for roles. He pressed 2 fingers to her wrist, feeling for a pulse. It was there, steady but faint, a quiet reassurance that she was still with him. "Hey, kid," he said, his voice softer now, the kind of tone he used with his own daughters. No response. He scanned her for clues, any sign of injury, a medical bracelet, anything that could explain why she'd gone down. Nothing obvious. Her clothes were simple, a faded blue t-shirt and jeans, her sneakers scuffed but clean. The notebook that had spilled from her bag caught his eye. A pencil sketch of a dog was visible on the open page, detailed and surprisingly skilled for someone her age. It humanized her in a way that made his chest tighten. This wasn't just a stranger. This was someone's kid, someone's world. "Someone call 911, he said, not looking up, his tone calm but carrying the weight of a command. A woman nearby fumbled with her phone, nodding as she dialed. The crowd was quieter now, the initial shock giving way to a collective holding of breath. Dwayne gently lifted the girl's head, sliding his folded jacket, a black Under Armour windbreaker, underneath to keep her neck aligned. He checked her breathing again, leaning close to feel the faint warmth of her exhales. Still there. Good. His mind ticked through possibilities. Dehydration was likely, given the heat and the flush on her cheeks. Low blood sugar was another possibility. She was slight, almost frail, and that granola bar wrapper suggested she might not have eaten much. Heatstroke, seizure, heart issue, he couldn't rule anything out, but he wasn't a doctor. What he could do was keep her stable until help arrived. A man in the crowd, a wiry guy with a Dodgers cap, stepped forward, holding out a half-empty water bottle. "Here," he said, his voice shaky. Dwayne nodded, taking it without breaking focus. "Thanks," he said, unscrewing the cap. He tilted the bottle, letting a few drops fall onto the girl's lips, careful not to choke her. "Come on, kid, you're tougher than this," he murmured, more to himself than to her. He dabbed a bit of water on his fingers and brushed it across her forehead, cooling her skin. Her eyelids fluttered, a faint sign of life that made his pulse steady. The crowd was still filming, their phones a silent chorus of lenses, but Dwayne didn't care. Let them post it, let them speculate. This wasn't about him. The girl's backpack was still open, and he noticed a small keychain clipped to the zipper, a plastic charm shaped like a star, the kind you'd win at a carnival. It was worn, the edges smooth from being handled too many times. Another detail that made her real, not just a moment in his day. He glanced at the notebook again, the dog sketch now smudged where someone's shoe had grazed it. He felt a pang of anger, not at the crowd, but at the situation, at how quickly life could tilt into chaos. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, a promise of help on the way. Dwayne stayed where he was, one hand resting lightly on the girl's shoulder, the other holding the water bottle ready. He spoke to her again, his voice low and steady. "You're gonna be fine. Help's coming. Just hang in there." He didn't know if she could hear him, but he'd read somewhere that talking to unconscious people could help, could anchor them to the world. So he kept talking, his words a lifeline. The crowd had grown, spilling onto the street, blocking traffic. A few voices murmured his name, "Is that The Rock?" But most were focused on the girl, their faces a mix of worry and relief that someone was taking charge. Dwayne's meeting, his schedule, the script waiting in his car, all of it was irrelevant now. He'd been in high-stakes situations before, on screen and off, but this was different. This was raw, unscripted, and the weight of it settled into his bones. The sirens were close now, red and blue lights flashing at the end of the block. Dwayne looked down at the girl, her face still pale but her breathing a touch stronger. He didn't know her name, didn't know her story, but in that moment, she was his responsibility. He'd stay until the paramedics took over, until he was sure she'd be okay. That's who he was, not the action hero, not the celebrity, but the guy who showed up when it mattered. The sirens screamed closer, cutting through the Los Angeles haze, but Dwayne Johnson didn't budge from the girl's side. Her small frame lay still on the pavement, her breathing shallow but steadier now. He'd done what he could, kept her stable, kept the crowd at bay, but the real fight was in the hands of the paramedics racing toward them. Dwayne's jaw tightened as he scanned her face for any sign of waking. This wasn't over yet. The story. The ambulance screeched to a stop at the curb, its lights painting the crowd in red and blue. Two paramedics, a woman with a tight ponytail and a man with a clipboard, leapt out, their movements sharp and practiced. Dwayne waved them over, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "Over here. She's been out for about 5 minutes. Pulse is steady, but she's clammy. Possible dehydration or low blood sugar." His words were clipped, precise, like he was briefing a team before a mission. The female paramedic, her badge reading, Ramirez, knelt beside the girl, her hands moving swiftly to check vitals. "Good call on elevating her head," she said, glancing at Dwayne's jacket under the girl's neck. She slipped a pulse oximeter onto the girl's finger while her partner radioed the hospital. "Any response at all?" Ramirez asked. Dwayne shook his head. "Eyelids fluttered once when I gave her water, but nothing since." He held up the bottle, now half empty, and Ramirez nodded, taking it to inspect. The male paramedic, Chen, on his badge, set up a portable 4 kit, his focus laser-like despite the crowd pressing closer. Dwayne stood, giving them space but staying close, his eyes never leaving the girl. The crowd was restless now, their phones still recording, some whispering guesses about what happened. "She just dropped," a woman in a sundress said to her friend. "No warning." A teenage boy nearby muttered, "Man, that's The Rock. He's legit." Dwayne tuned it out. The attention was a side effect of his life, but right now, it was noise. His focus was the girl, the paramedics, and the faint hope she'd open her eyes. Ramirez glanced at the spilled contents of the girl's backpack, her eyes landing on the notebook with the dog sketch. "Got a name?" she asked, looking up at Dwayne. He shook his head again. "Didn't see an ID. Just her stuff." Chen, now hooking up the 4, called out, "Glucose drips going in. If it's hypoglycemia, she should respond soon." Dwayne nodded, his arms crossed, muscles tense. He'd seen enough medical scenes on set to know the basics, but this was no script. The stakes were real, and the clock was ticking. Ramirez pressed a stethoscope to the girl's chest, her face unreadable. Heart rates low but stable. BP's iffy. She looked at Dwayne, her tone professional but warm. You kept her from getting worse. That's huge. Dwayne gave a tight nod, but he didn't feel like a hero. He just did what needed doing. The girl's star-shaped keychain glinted in the sunlight, a small detail that kept pulling his attention. Who was she? Where was her family? The questions gnawed at him, but answers would have to wait. Chen radioed again, his voice steady. ETA to Cedars-Sinai is 10 minutes. We're moving her now. The paramedics unfolded a stretcher, and Dwayne stepped in without thinking, helping them lift the girl's slight frame. Her head lolled slightly, but the glucose drip was already working. Her cheeks had a faint flush, less ghostly than before. Easy, Dwayne said, more to himself than anyone, as they secured her to the stretcher. The crowd parted as the paramedics wheeled her toward the ambulance, Dwayne following close behind. A few people clapped, tentative at first, then louder, like they just watched a scene wrap on a movie set. He ignored it, his focus on the girl's face, searching for any sign of consciousness. Ramirez noticed his intensity and said, "You can ride with us if you want. She's not out of the woods yet." Dwayne didn't hesitate. "I'm in." Inside the ambulance, the space was cramped, all sterile white and beeping monitors. Dwayne squeezed onto the bench beside the stretcher, his broad shoulders brushing the walls. Ramirez monitored the girl's vitals while Chen drove, the siren wailing above them. The glucose drip hung from a hook, swaying with the ambulance's turns. Dwayne leaned forward, his hands clasped, watching the girl's chest rise and fall. "Come on, kid," he said under his breath. "You got this." Ramirez checked the monitor, her brow furrowing. Blood sugars climbing, but she's not waking yet. Could be more than hypoglycemia. She glanced at Dwayne. "You know her at all?" He shook his head. "Just saw her go down. Had to step in." Ramirez nodded, respect in her eyes. Most people wouldn't. They'd walk away. Dwayne didn't respond. Walking away wasn't in his DNA, not when he was a kid scrapping in Honolulu, not when he was wrestling in front of thousands, not now. He looked at the girl's hand, small and limp on the stretcher, a faint scar across her knuckles. Another detail that made her real. He wondered if she was a fighter, too, in her own way. The ambulance hit a bump, and the girl stirred, her eyelids fluttering again. Dwayne leaned closer, his voice low and steady. "Hey, you're okay. You're safe." Her eyes cracked open, just a sliver, unfocused but alive. Ramirez noticed, her tone brightening. "There we go. Can you hear me, sweetheart? I'm Lisa, this is an ambulance." The girl's lips moved, but no sound came out. Her gaze drifted to Dwayne, confusion flickering in her eyes. "It's all right," he said, offering a small smile. "You took a little nap on the sidewalk. We're getting you fixed up." Her eyes lingered on him, like she was trying to place him, then closed again. Ramirez adjusted the four, her hands steady. "That's a good sign. She's responding." Dwayne exhaled, a knot in his chest loosening slightly. The ambulance pulled into Cedars-Sinai's emergency bay, the doors flying open as hospital staff rushed out. Dwayne stepped back as the paramedics transferred the girl to a gurney, Ramirez briefing the ER team in rapid-fire medical jargon. He followed them into the hospital, his presence drawing stares from nurses and patients alike. He didn't care. He needed to know she'd be okay. In the ER waiting area, Dwayne stood by a window, the girl's notebook in his hands. He'd grabbed it from the sidewalk, along with her backpack, not wanting her things to get lost. The dog sketch stared up at him, the lines bold and careful. He flipped the page, finding more drawings, trees, a skateboard, a woman's face with kind eyes. Her mom, maybe. He closed the notebook, his mind heavy. A doctor approached, a woman with gray streaks in her hair and a clipboard. "You the one who brought her in?" she asked. Dwayne nodded. "How's she doing?" The doctor's face was neutral, but her eyes were kind. "She's stable. Low blood sugar, possibly diabetic. We're running tests." "You did good out there." Dwayne nodded again, but the words didn't sink in. Stable was good, but stable wasn't enough. He handed the doctor the backpack. "This is hers. Might help figure out who she is." The doctor took it, promising to pass it to social services. Dwayne lingered, reluctant to leave. The girl's face, her scar, her star keychain, they stuck with him. He didn't know her name, but he wasn't ready to walk away. Not yet. Dwayne Johnson stood in the sterile glow of Cedars-Sinai, the girl's notebook heavy in his hands. Mia Carter, 12 years old, was stable but not awake, her small frame tethered to IVs and monitors. The star-shaped keychain, the dog sketch, the scar on her knuckles, they haunted him. He wasn't leaving until he knew she'd pull through. The story. The waiting area buzzed, nurses rushing, phones ringing, a TV muttering about traffic. Dwayne leaned against a wall, ignoring the stares his 6 feet 5 inches frame drew. He flipped open Mia's notebook, a tree, a skateboard, a woman's face with soft eyes. Her mother, he bet. The sketches were vivid, a kid's dreams in pencil. His chest tightened. Who was Mia? Where was her family? Dr. Ellis, the gray-streaked doctor, approached. She's Mia Carter, 12. Undiagnosed diabetes, likely. She's responding to treatment, not awake yet. Dwayne nodded. Mia. It suited her. Her parents, he asked. Dr. Ellis frowned. Trying to reach her mom. No father listed. Social services is on it. Dwayne's jaw clenched. A kid alone, collapsing on a street, it hit too close to his own scrappy childhood. Can I see her? He asked. Dr. Ellis nodded. Briefly. She led him to a small room, where Mia lay under harsh lights, monitors beeping. Her face was less pale, her breathing steady. Dwayne stood at the door, feeling out of place. She's lucky you were there, Dr. Ellis said. She's a fighter, he replied, voice low. A nurse adjusted Mia's fore, and Dwayne stepped back, setting the notebook by her bed. Get better, kid, he whispered. His phone buzzed, his team, nagging about a missed meeting. He ignored it. Mia mattered more. He texted his assistant, find pediatric diabetes programs. Local, top tier. A kid like Mia needed support, not just a hospital bed. A woman burst into the ER, frantic. Mia Carter. I'm her mom, Sarah. She was 30-something, hair messy, clothes rumpled. The woman from Mia's sketch. Sarah's hands shook as she spoke to a nurse. Dr. Ellis guided her aside, explaining. Dwayne watched, staying back. Sarah's shoulders sagged, then straightened, relief and fear at war. She clutched Mia's notebook, fingers tracing the dog sketch, and headed to Mia's room. Dwayne's assistant sent a list, diabetes care programs, including a non-profit for low-income families. He forwarded it to his manager, set up a meeting. I want to help. He didn't know Mia, but he knew struggle. If he could ease hers, he would. Sarah emerged later, eyes red but steady. She spotted Dwayne, approaching hesitantly. You helped my daughter, she said, voice raw. They told me. Dwayne stood, offering a smile. Glad she's okay. How's she now? Sarah swallowed. Awake, weak. They're keeping her overnight. Guilt flooded her face. I didn't know she was sick. I should've. Dwayne cut her off. You're here. She's tough. Her sketches show it. Sarah's lips quivered. She loves drawing. Wants to be an artist. She paused. Thank you. Dwayne waved it off. Keep her drawing. He gave Dr. Ellis his card for Sarah. If they need anything, doctors, programs, tell me. No headlines, no fuss. Just help. Outside, the LA night hummed. His phone buzzed, more missed meetings. Tomorrow's problem. Mia's waking eyes lingered in his mind. She'd be okay. He'd made sure of it.